Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. This time we're going to be going over a little bit of my thoughts moving right into the Nationals weekend. At this point, Nationals is 1 to 2 days away, so here are some of my thoughts and kind of my opinions and a little bit of taking some data from the Mexican Nationals as well. But before we do get into this, I have a very important message for you guys, so please do pay very close attention to this. If you guys have watched any of my older videos, you may know that I lived in California for a year, and that's kind of where I started to play the Dragon Ball Super card game. So if you guys don't know, there's a tragedy striking Northern California right now called the Camp Fire. It's a fire that's ravaging the area of Paradise in Northern California, which is about 20 minutes away from where I was living for that year, and it made a lot of my close friends, especially in the Dragon Ball Super card game. So one of my good friends, Chris, the company that he works for is a vocational education training for adults with special needs, and he's from the area that I lived in, but a lot of his employees and a lot of his clients for the company he works for, they lost their homes in this tragic fire. So there's a link for a kind of like a GoFundMe, like a fundraiser type of thing, where you can help those guys out. Any amount helps. People, like I said, lost their homes, lost their jobs, clients and employees alike, and it's just an incredibly devastating time. So I'm going to drop this link down in the description below. It would be awesome to see you guys donate to that. Like, it's a great cause. If you haven't heard of or seen the Camp Fire that's ravaging Northern California, do research it. It's truly devastating. But with that out of the way, we'll get into this discussion video. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me. All right, so my thoughts going into Nationals, which is just a couple days away. It's going to be a very interesting tournament and a very interesting format. It's going to be completely wide open. I mean, this is a national that's happening at the brink of a new set being released, set 5, right? We're seeing new mechanics, we're seeing new battle cards that just absolutely dominate a game. We're seeing new defensive cards, new negates, new battle cards that are meant to be more defensive. It seems like anything could be in flux, and if you guys have been testing, I think you guys have been able to pick out, you know, generally what's good, what's casual, what's a little more rogue, things like that. And we actually have some results from the Mexican Nationals that kind of show us what top. So a little bit of data on what did well in that tournament. So first place, we had Shenron Veggies, which I think to everybody was just completely out of left field. Like, if you were to ask me what deck I thought would have won that event, Shenron Veggies would have been the last thing on my mind, right? Like, but this deck is super unique and super cool, incredibly spammy, which is actually really ironic in the face of a card like the Kami that just came out in set 5. So congrats to this guy. Really just, you know, spicy deck to say the least. And then we saw a lot of androids. I believe there are 4 androids in Top Cut. So, I mean, new format, limiting your opponent's hand size, seems like it can only be good, right? What's really interesting in this list is only playing one of the new negate, which is actually a really good card against Storm. But besides the blue package too, which is really cool. But yeah, so we had like 4 androids Top Cut. Here's another one. Main deck blue package. Another android, so that's 3 already. Another androids. 4 androids Top Cut. A Hercule in Top Cut, focusing on the Gogeta package. A Storm deck, which I'm actually surprised to only see 1 in Top Cut. And another Shenron Veggies. So really interesting Top Cut, not something I was expecting to see by any stretch of the imagination. So I think because of the way that tournament went, you know, and who knows any factors that could have played into that, you know, brand new format once again, you know, people experimenting with Shenron, and it seems like Shenron Veggies is a great pick. So that is something I was expecting to see. That's why I had the Shenron leader showcased here. So I think people are going to really be experimenting with Shenron. We have Shenron Veggies, we have Shenron U11, we have Shenron Ultra Instinct, we have the blue yellow Shenron build on my channel. If you guys haven't seen that, go check that out for sure. Really good deck. And there's a lot of different good Shenron builds you can play and you can make. And you know, one of the reasons a lot of people don't want to play this deck is because it does have a really tough time against Storm. And what's really interesting is how much Storm was kind of pushed out of this Top Cut in this Latin American Nationals. So really interesting. The American Nationals might be a little bit different. More people might gear towards Storm. I don't necessarily know if that's going to be the case because the deck has been just dominant for so long, and there's a new set coming out. I can see the kind of attraction of playing new stuff, taking people in as opposed to playing Storm. So we'll see, and maybe the results of this Nationals will also influence that. So we'll see what happens on that end. So I got a couple cards here that are going to be some of my talking points about what I think is going to be played. So obviously we have the Goten here, which of course is representative of the Hirudegarn Storm deck and potentially a Trunks Storm deck. It's just tried and true, absolutely just dominant deck. You know, winning by turn 2, turn 3 is really solid. So definitely going to expect to see it at the tournament if you're going, and you know, expect it to be a tough matchup. You know, depending on what you're playing. If your deck is teched out to beat Storm, you're probably in a good position. Make sure you definitely have the side deck for it. And then I want to jump over to the Zeno, because that's the other kind of Hirudegarn deck, which is Hirudegarn Chain Zeno, potentially even Krillin Chain Zeno. So Chain Zeno is really good in an open field as well, because it just kind of has a 50-50 matchup against everything, right? It's a little bit tougher against Storm, but actually with the new defensive cards in the set, you're able to have a little bit of a better Storm matchup. So the fact that you can play Chain Zeno in an open field kind of evens you out in terms of your matchup. So like any deck that can put out a crazy board or get a crazy hand size, you can just reset the game back to an even state and neg your opponent, you know, based off what your leader does, usually by drawing additional cards after Chain Zenoing or by making your opponent go neg after Chain Zenoing. So it could go one of two ways. You could have a more 50-50 matchup that way. We'll go back over here to the Demon Sword Janemba. So this card is obviously one of the new mill cards. It's out of the tournament pack and it's super hype price right now. So that's probably pretty indicative that people are going to be playing this deck at the tournament. The Janemba mill deck, if any of you guys either haven't really been testing it up for Nats or aren't going to Nats and want to kind of know about it, ultra defensive deck. Plays usually anywhere from like 6 to 12 super combos, Zeno buttons, Mofubas, Dimension Magics, the whole package. You're just trying to survive the entire game. It's even better if you don't awaken, because you know, the longer you stay unawakened, the longer the game drags out, the more likely your chances to win increase. So new Janemba deck, lots of crit, lots of mill, deflect, so cold bullets are going to be kind of ineffective against that. Something to consider for sure. And next up here we have the 2 Gogeta cards coming out of the set. So we have the set these 5-drop Gogeta coming out of the structure deck, 7-drop Gogeta coming out of the main set. These cards are both nasty bomb cards that just come down, do something incredibly busted, and give your opponent a giant headache. So the 5-drop Gogeta, for those of you who don't know what it does, is a 5-drop 10k combo, 25k power, double strike. You can Union Fuse it with a Goku and a Vegeta from your hand, the same power level, put them in the drop area, and then activate his effect of Sparking 5. You have to have 5 in your drop area to activate it. And when you play this card, you draw 2, and you shuffle 2 of your opponents down to the bottom of the deck. So this is kind of a next level Goku Oob in a sense. So any deck that can abuse this in the mid-range game is going to just go crazy plus. But it also gets into this point of, just like with Hercule and Goku Oob, you don't want to necessarily Goku Oob first, especially Goku Oob into nothing just to put pressure on, because then you get Goku Oobed and you get hit with a really fat neg. But the issue with that was that it was a two card combo, so if you didn't have a 2-card combo to hit them back after you got Goku Oobed, you were in a little bit more of a predicament. The fact that Gogeta does it all for 1 card makes that a little bit less detrimental, but then again, you're still back into this game of just Gogetaing each other back and forth and putting on big pressure with a 25k double striker. And then we have the bigger version of that, the Gogeta Hero Revive. So I think a lot of us know what this does. A lot of people are complaining, saying it's busted and that's broken, it shouldn't be a card. I don't necessarily know if I agree with that. I mean, we didn't see it, dominate Top Cut in any manner. It did make Top Cut, it made top 8, but here's what it does. So triple strike, Union Fusion, so same idea as Gogeta, but for 5 energy. Barrier Deflect. So that's my main problem with it, is that you can't interact with it in any way. The deflect means you cannot be cold bulleted, which, this is a big card you're paying a lot of energy for, paying 2 cards for. I guess that's fair, but then again, also not, because this card literally just comes down and almost in most scenarios will say you win the game. The real way to outplay or counterplay this is to win before your opponent can drop this, or set up some like blockers or set up some like deadly defenders to not take that hit to the face, but that's not always realistic. And then the barrier, the fact that it is incredibly hard to remove this card after getting it dropped on you, is also another headache. So Sparking 10, when you play this card, if you have 5 or more energy, choose 1 card from your life, place it in the drop area, then your opponent shuffles all cards in their hand to the deck, draw 3. So like I said, when it comes down, it's most likely going to win. You may see this in the Shenron decks. People want to give it triple attack, which is a 3-time swinging triple attack, triple striker, and that's really, really devastating, especially when your opponent just draws 3 random cards. Pretty unlikely they're going to draw into their probably like 2 or 3 of Mafuba, especially if they've like used 1 or charged 1. So that's another big devastating play. You can see we did see in the Mexican Top Cut that Hercule topped running this package, so definitely something to keep in mind. And you guys know your other mid-range leaders that could potentially do this. You like maybe Soul Striker, maybe Krillin. A lot of different leaders that could potentially kind of abuse these cards, these crazy mid-range blue cards, especially mono blue strategies with Button, Soul Striker, untapping energy, things like that. And then we will address the elephant in the room, the Android decks playing the Cell Chain. So I was very, very surprised to see that 4 of these made top 8, but then once I thought about it a little bit, I was also a little less surprised, because in an open format, dishing your opponent's hand down to 3 if you know what you're doing is really, really good. It's really good in the mid-game matchups. You're just limiting your opponent's hand size. You do have some sort of field removal, so you can deal with their issues. Vegito and Deadly Defenders might give you a bit of a hard time, but you got to make your way around it. So this is seemingly a good pick for the tournament as well. And honestly, in the tournaments that I've been going to in my local area, and when I went to Atlantic City, I did play against a lot of androids, so I definitely expect to see it at the tournament. I definitely think it's going to be a pretty dominant force. With the new Deadly Defender, with the new free negate, I think its store matchup got increased a little bit in terms of like winning percentage and favorability. What's pretty interesting to note is that no one in that top cut was playing this new Super 17 engine. Maybe they didn't have enough time to toy around with it. Maybe, you know, maybe it's not worth its salt. Maybe it's not worth its merit. That yet remains to be seen. I think that this American Nationals is going to really define the format. It's going to really show what decks are top notch, what decks are, you know, top cuttable but not going to win an event, and what decks are more rogue, things like that. I think a lot of people are going to try a lot of new things, which is really cool, and I'm really excited to go to Nats, hang out with my team, hang out with all my friends that I made in the Dragon Ball Super community. If you guys are going to Nats, definitely stop and say hi to me. I would love to talk to you guys because you guys are the freaking best. This Dragon Ball Super community is absolutely the best card gaming community out there right now. So please, if you do see me walking around Nats and you like the channel, please do comment to me. Let me know how your tournament's going. Let me know how your day is going. Let me know what you want to see on the channel. That would be dope. Once again, guys, don't forget about that link for the California Vocations donation page. I'm going to put that down in the description below. That would be so awesome if you guys could donate to that. You guys are awesome. And check out our Discord server, link down in the description below as well. We talk about everything Dragon Ball Super related there. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Joey. This is Crossroads TCG, and I'll see you at Nats.